Hello, my name is Philip Bloom and today I want to talk to you about this lovely monitor here, the SmallHD 702 Touch. SmallHD have sponsored this video, so therefore it isn't a review. That being said, I don't make videos about things I don't actually believe in. They're not paying for my opinion, they're paying for this video. I've been using SmallHD monitors for about 10 years, since their first one, and they are my favourite monitors. And this new one here, the 702 Touch, really is my favourite monitor. I'm going to explain why. Before I went freelance 13 years ago, I worked staff at Sky News, doing news and then documentaries, and it was amazing using a Betacam on the shoulder, black and white viewfinder. I never used a monitor. The only time I ever saw a monitor was when I was editing. It was when I went freelance I got my first monitor back in 2006. I don't have that anymore. I think it was a Panasonic. And then I started using Marshall monitors as well and TV Logic. And then 10 years ago I got my first SmallHD one, the DP1. And it wasn't my favourite monitor. It was okay. The monitors that followed from SmallHD were so much better. And the first one that I really used full time was the DP4 because it was small, it was only standard definition, but that lovely compact size and the fact you could also put a loop on it to make it into a viewfinder, it became a really essential piece of my kit. As the years went on, the quality of the screens improved, we had better resolution, we had better brightness, we had nicer operating system, a nicer way of working and better power consumption. The monitor that they became really well known for was this, which is the 502. This is the SDI HDMI one. The 501 was only HDMI. Looks a little bit like a mobile phone, and I got comments when I was using it saying, why have you got your phone on your camera? So full HD, I think it's 400 nits brightness, so it doesn't compare to the latest ones, but the operating system, amazing. It just was so different and so easy to use. Having the ability to have all your different settings on pages for different cameras. So if you're using, a Canon 5D, was I still using a Canon 5D then? Probably not. But whatever, on page 1 and a different one on page 2, so some could have false color and some would have the waveforms on there, different LUTs. It was so slick and so easy to use. I'm not going to go through every single monitor because I do need to get onto the one that this video is about, but a bit of context is very important. It makes you understand why these new models are important and better. The 702 was pretty special. It came out around the same sort of time. No, it's not just because it's 2 inches bigger, it's because it's 1,000 nits. 502, 400 nits. 702, 1,000 nits. Over twice as bright. It's really important when you're filming in sunshine. Obviously not in England because we don't get that very often. In foreign places where they don't speak English, like in America where they have the sun quite a lot. You don't want to just have a hood over it. It's nice to have the screen open. And that was one of the key things about the 702 Bright. And if 1,000 nits wasn't bright enough for you, you need a bit more. The Ultra Bright series came along a couple of years later, and this is the 703. Quite possibly the greatest monitor that I've ever owned. Why don't they use it for everything though? It's quite heavy, so it's probably not quite twice as heavy as the 702 Bright, but heavy enough to make a difference. The Focus line, for example, is their budget series of monitors, very much designed for your sort of mirrorless type cameras. The 5-inch one was just called the Focus at the time. This is the OLED one. And what's cool about them is you could power your camera from the main battery via a cable that you had to get, obviously, using Sony NPF batteries, which last for ages. One of the most important features for me is battery consumption, power, how much it uses up. And I love the fact that all of my current SmallHD monitors are very efficient. So you don't want to have loads and loads of batteries to carry around with you and then to charge at the end of the day. If I'm using a video camera, I do tend to run a cable into my V-Lock DTAP so I just keep that weight down. Going back to the focus line, my last video for SmallHD, which wasn't sponsored, was about the Focus 7, which I can't show you in my hand because it's here. It's a prop. I'm not going to ruin my shot by doing this. There you are, the Focus 7. Let's try and get it back into cut. Why did I do that? Now it's never going to be where it was. Close enough. Love this monitor, very bright, 1000 nits like the 702. It is, well, the one I have, HDMI only. There's no pass-through. Touchscreen though, and I love the touchscreen, and the new OS that's in the 7 is really slick and really nice. And I definitely prefer the touchscreen of the Focus 7 to the 702's joystick, the old style. The way that the OS works, OS 3 now, which is incredibly nice. It's like having an iPad and having to use a joystick to navigate around it rather than just touching the screen and moving things around. It's so much more natural and intuitive. Yeah, you can get fingerprints on it, but you can always wipe it down. And you only really see the fingerprints when the screen's off, not so much when it's on and you have your lovely, beautifully exposed shot on it. Finally, he gets to the point. The 702 Touch here and the 702 Bright. You can see the difference in the design. This is the old style, obviously, and this is our new slick style. It's just so beautifully made. It's from a single milled piece of aluminium, or as the Americans will call it, aluminum. It's not, it's aluminium. And it has all the features of the 702, but more. First off, it's brighter. So 1500 nits, and the 702 Bright is 1000 nits. So there we go. That's 50% brighter. HDMI, SDI, cross conversion. So SDI input and it can send out via HDMI and vice versa. We can send in an SDI and it can come out of SDI, and same with HDMI. Makes sense, right? The color is DCI P3, which means it is incredibly accurate, more so than the previous model. The resolution is 1920 by 1200, a bit more than you have on the Bright, which is 1920 by 1080. In fact, the resolution of the Touch is the same as the Focus 7. Now, I can hear you saying, oh, I need to have a 4K monitor because I'm shooting 4K. Well, you don't. Not in a size of 7 inches. It won't make any difference. Full HD is all you need. This is my 4K TV behind, by the way, and I've had 4K TVs for quite some time, and I never really felt that they really gave me the sort of like the quality that I was actually hoping for. When you go to the stores and you're looking closely at them, they look amazing. When you get it home and you put it on the wall, it's like, yeah, I think it's better. Interesting fact, about 2 years ago, when I turned 46, I went on a whim to the opticians and said, hello, can I get that free eye test that you do? And I said, sure. I had a free eye test, and it seems I have astigmatism, and I got glasses. And suddenly my 4K TV looked amazing. Everything looked too clear, in fact. There is a reason for that anecdote. My eyesight, my fading old man eyesight, means that I really do need a 7-inch screen these days. 5 inches are just not big enough for me. If you like quarter 20s, this has 4 of them. 1, 2, 3. Not on the top, strangely enough. It is on the back here. So, oh well. Would have liked one on the top, to be honest with you, but for some reason there isn't one at the top, so we have to make do with just the 4. 2 battery slots means they are hot swappable, so when one is getting low, you swap the other one out whilst it's still on, hence hot swappable. And you can see that my wallpaper, yes, custom wallpaper, this is Lollipop, is very bright. It's not the photo is overexposed, this is at full brightness, whereas the other screens, I brought them right down to match the lighting. I can do the same here. Let me just do that now. There we go, now we can see cute Lollipop, and gives me a chance to show the other cool thing about, you get this with all the SmallHDs these days, is the automatic flipping for orientation. I don't think it does vertical, thankfully. I know you have a question in the back of your mind, and that is, do these record video? No, they don't. They are purely monitors, very high quality monitors. Yes, there are some very nice recorders out there with nice screens, but the screens aren't as nice. The battery power consumption is heavier. The operating system is nowhere near as nice. And most of the time I don't need to record externally. I just want to have a really high quality screen, and that is what these SmallHD monitors give me. I'm filming myself on the Sony a7R III right now, and the rear screen is not very good. Most rear screens of cameras aren't very good. It does have an EVF though, and that's fantastic when shooting handheld, nice and big in the eye, and I can change the diopter to match my eyesight. Cameras just don't have decent LCD screens, and that's why we need to have monitors or EVFs. If you're shooting handheld, I do prefer an EVF. But when I'm shooting on sticks or on a gimbal, I do want to use a monitor. Now, there's a couple of cameras out there which do have big screens, like 5-inch screens, but they're not very bright and they've got not very good viewing angle. And unless you are directly in front of it and looking at it, because you can't tilt it, you can't see anything. So despite having this big screen, you have to have another screen on top of it. The Touch is more money than the Focus because it has way more features. That cross conversion, it is brighter. It is made of a solid piece of aluminum. What? Aluminium? They've got to me. The 702 Touch is more expensive than the Focus, obviously. A big part of that is the fact it is made from that solid piece of aluminium, but it's also the features, 1500 nits, SDI, cross conversion, that color accuracy. You are paying for all of these features. If you just need a simple HDMI monitor, then perhaps the Focus 7 is for you. But if you want to have all of these lovely features in a light monitor with a fantastic image and a fantastic operating system, have I told you that already? Then it's this one here, it's the 702 Touch. Yes, the Ultra Bright series is brighter outside, the 2200 nits, and if you do need that, then that makes sense for you. They are a lot more expensive. For me, 1500 is more than I'm ever going to need in England, and when I do go to those foreign parts, I think it's going to be fine for the most part, really. In my last video, I told you that the Focus 7 Touch was my favorite monitor, and that's now changed. It is now the 702 Touch. Why? Well, it's much more flexible, having those different connections, having SDI in it for my video cameras, and also it's brighter. This is my favorite SmallHD monitor. I know what you're thinking. Favorite SmallHD monitor and a SmallHD sponsored video? How worthless is that? Well, it's not. They hired me to make a video about the monitor. It was never to be about my opinion. That is always going to be my own. And completely away from this video, 100% truthfully and honestly, the 702 Touch is my favorite monitor of all time. And that's not just SmallHD brands, I promise you. If you watch my videos, you'll know that I try to get my cats in as much as I can. This is Percy. You can make this a drinking game if you want to. There's 5 in total. See if I can get the rest in. Bert. Hi, Bert. Jimmy the Greek. Harriet.